Welcome.
Hi, I'm Katie Morrell. I'm a creative and writer based in the San Francisco Bay Area.
And I'm Karen Hawkins. I am the founder of Rebellious magazine for women and co-editor-in-chief of the Chicago Reader.
You are listening to Of Course I'm Not Okay, an audio project. Join us as we talk about mental health, coping with quarantine, and what conversations we wish the world was having and isn't.
For some of our episodes, we'll chat with writers and creatives to get their take. Thank you for joining us on this journey.
All right, we're recording. Hi, Karen. Great to see you.
Hello, Katie. It's great to see you.
Yes. Happy Friday or whatever day, whatever. That again.
Time is an illusion. It doesn't really matter. But yes, happy Friday.
Yes. It is so nice to see you. I love doing these little check-ins. They're so fun.
Agreed.
Oh, so to dive right in, I know I don't have any fight stories about melted butter this week. Sorry to say, wah wah.
No Subaru.
No Subaru.
Stories, though. Where are you right now?
I will say that there is a little story about the fact that I am recording this podcast in the back seat of my new Subaru. That's real. And so when we started this conversation before we hit record, I was about 40 feet away from the house where I'm staying. Now the front of my car is in my friend's garage, and then the rest of it is sticking out in their driveway because I want to make sure that I get their Wi-Fi. I mean, yeah, you got to do what I got to do for an audio project, I guess.
Tell you what, this is a high-tech operation, and I just also want to remind people that we are recording this on Zoom. So I am looking at Katie in the car right now.
You can see it's a pretty day. There's sun shining through the windows. There's a lot of natural light in this car. It's a good look. Yeah.
Natural light. I would hope a car would have a lot of natural light. Like that should be the one thing we could count on.
You're right. In
life.
Natural light in a car. And this might be my new thing. I mean, I will say that there's an enormous amount of privacy. Like my dog isn't barking. My husband isn't around. Like I kind of love that I could just like scream. Not that I would scream in everyone's ear, but I could and it would be fine.
Maybe this is a tax write-off for you then, because this is a mobile office now. You've got like a write-offable situation happening in this new Subaru.
Okay, I really like where you're going with this, Karen, because seriously, that would be the largest tax write-off I've ever had. And so I really appreciate where your mind is at because, well, shit, I mean, because we're already making money on this podcast, the 28 cents, I think, is what we've made so far for our sponsors. Thank you, sponsors. We really appreciate it. We welcome more than 28 cents, but you know what? Like that will definitely work for a home office.
Yeah.
This could be workable. I'm going to think about that.
I mean, keep in mind you're taking accounting advice from somebody who dropped their phone in the river. There's also that.
That's okay. Oh, all right. Well, these are all great ideas. Well, how was your week, Karen?
It's been, I'm not going to lie, it's been really stressful, which is why I'm so happy about these Friday check-ins. I won't get into too much detail. Just know, world, that I live in downtown Chicago and was up at 4:00 in the morning this Monday, filming people robbing the store across the street and 8 squad cars coming and just living in fear of not only my building being burnt down, but also of the police doing something absolutely horrific out on the street. So I spent the first part of this week, as my friend Emily would say, made of rage, just like made of rage, just angry at everyone all the time. And I've gone through every emotion imaginable since then, and I'm happy to be here now, and that's what's important.
Okay, so Karen, I'm so excited about today's topic. So I feel like when we were thinking about this audio project, Not Yet a Podcast, we had all kinds of ideas for different things, but a lot of things in terms of topics, but a lot of things have really surfaced because so much is happening with the pandemic and so many people's lives are being wildly disrupted. But one of the things that I'm hearing a lot is that people are thinking about, for lack of a better term, taking a leap in their life in terms of or in terms of professionally. So they're thinking like they've been in the same job for the past several years. They have always wanted to do X, Y, or Z. And they're thinking, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go do it. Like, why not? Like, life is short. Like, there's a lot of, realizations at this moment. And so I feel like I'm just so excited to talk to you about this because we both have experiences in this realm. I mean, both of us have left situations that were not totally healthy, and like we've, kind of embraced new lives. And so I would love to kind of dive into yours because I feel like your story is something that I absolutely love so deeply. Like, I just think that you are the ultimate badass when it comes to like truly taking a leap. So do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So briefly, I was working as a reporter for a news organization whose name I will not say, but whose initials are AP. I was really frustrated. I needed a change. I decided to found the online magazine I'd always wanted to do. It is called the Rebellious Magazine for Women. It's at rebelliousmagazine.com. It is how I know you, Katie, and more or less. And so I left the AP, was doing Rebellious, but also still working. And then Rebellious took a disco nap. I was working a very lucrative corporate job and decided that was the big leap to me. So the first leap was deciding to found Rebellious in the first place in 2012. And then the second one was really in 2016, leaving my ridiculously overpaid corporate job to do Rebellious full time. And Rebellious is still alive. I am still alive. It has been a rough ass 4 years. I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely believe in taking leaps of faith, and I absolutely believe in the power of a PhD and just like fucking shit up and figuring it out. Like, I feel like that is something no MBA or PhD program's ever going to teach you, is how to survive when you have removed all of, the structure from your life. But I don't want to, I want to encourage people to follow their dreams and follow their bliss. But I also want a reality check about like, this shit's hard. Be ready.
I love that so much. I love that you're willing to just like go there in the reality of like, it's not always easy. So I'll give my, short explanation also. And then I would love to go into a little bit more detail. So I have always been a journalist, went to journalism school, worked on staff at different magazines and newspapers. And then I guess it was 2009, I went traveling on, in Asia for a little bit. And then I came back and I was like, you know what, I really want to try freelancing. And my whole thing was, okay, I've only ever been on staff. I never learned how to freelance in journalism school. That wasn't even a conversation. I literally don't think the word freelance ever came up in any class. But I really just wanted to be my own boss. That was my big thing. Like, I was so tired of being under the thumb of different editors that just, there was no work-life balance whatsoever. Not that there is even now, but I feel like there was just not really even a conversation. And so, so in 2009, I gave myself a year and I was like, if it doesn't work in a year, I'm going to go back on staff. No problem. And that was 2009. It's now 2020. And so I'm celebrating 11 years in business. And I will say that that's the headline, and the subhead is that it's really fucking hard. And, I've had a lot of inbound requests over the years of people who want to, to talk to me about like, oh, well, how do I be a freelance journalist? Like, you do some travel writing. Do you sit around in Paris with a beret and a cigarette? And like, is that your life? And I'm like, I wish. I mean, I don't smoke, but like, that's not my life. And so like, really what I had to explain to them was like, number one, it's worth it. I will say that from my experience, I absolutely love it. Number two, I worked 18-hour days for the first many, many years. And to this day, I still have to, grind that out. And so, yeah, I mean, I think one thing though, for people listening, that's like the biggest sticking point for them is financially. Like, how do they make that work financially? And I don't want to gloss over that in this conversation, because I feel like I listen to a lot of conversations with people where they do gloss over it. And it's like, okay, that's not really fair, because everyone has a different situation, of course. But I will say, full disclosure, my partner, my husband, we were not yet married. He had a full-time job, and that was the only way that I could do it. And so I'm not saying that that's not the way. Like, I have friends who started freelancing single, and they are fine, and they have been able to make it work. I had the luxury and the privilege of having food on my table. And so I then was able to earn money over time to make that myself. It was fine. Like, I didn't need his salary. But I will say that, full disclosure, that is something that was really helpful to me. And I think, if someone listening is a single person, or they don't have someone in their life that can help them, I think that having a little bit of, not that I'm a financial advisor, but like a little bit to just know that you won't go, without ramen at least. It's tricky sometimes because it's very personal.
It is incredibly personal. And I also, right, full disclosure, have a partner and who has been very supportive through this whole process. We met after I launched Rebellious, but we've been together since 2012. And I think when I think about the financial piece, I think of like, yes, the fact that people gloss it over, and that, yes, we have these conversations where people are self-made. Like, I forget which of the Jenners is like the first self-made billionaire, which is like the most offensive. I mean, come on now. And we don't have conversations about the fact that Jeff Bezos started Amazon out of his parents' garage with $300,000 in like 1997, right? So yeah, I do feel like we all need to be really forthcoming about what that means, and that if you don't have a bunch of money saved, or if you don't have a plan, the leap is harder, obviously. And that I feel like that is the one thing I learned, is that like I had a nest egg and I was just like, once this is gone, I'm going to figure it out. And that's like not a great plan. And I will also say, I also feel like I hear from a lot of people who have golden handcuffs. And I'll just give you a tease that we're going to hear from a guest who we both had the same golden handcuffs very briefly. We both worked for the same company, making an absolutely obscene amount of money. For me, at least, it was an obscene amount of money. And just realizing I hated every second of it. Every second of it. Making more money than I had ever made in my life. Making double what my mother ever made in her life. And I loathed every second of it. And yes, finances, yes, money, but you can't trade a high paycheck for hating your life. Like, at a certain point, I just got to a place of like, was I really put here to do this? Right? Did the universe really come together for me to be making all of this money to be doing this? And the answer was no.
I would love to invite our guest on, because Karen, as you alluded to, this is our very first audio project / podcast that we have a guest, and our guest is so amazing. Would you like to do the honors of introductions?
I can't wait. Oh my God. I've been waiting this whole time for this. My life was made for this. So our guest today is Erinn Cox, who is one of my favorite people in the entire world. And when I say world, I mean world, because she's in Estonia now. And Erinn, I'm going to let you really give your bio of who you are, because I'm not going to do it justice. And you've done so many amazing things in the last few years that I probably don't even know about. So welcome, Erinn Cox. I love you.
Oh, well, thank you, ladies. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Happy to be here. Well, I'm an artist and a professor, and I write kind of professionally when it strikes me and when I feel like it. And I live in Estonia currently.
Erinn, can you take us through kind of your story for people who don't know you, or everyone who's listening? We're going to put Erinn's website and all of the ways that you can contact her in our show notes for this episode. But Erinn, I would love to know a little bit about like your path to getting to Estonia and the incredible job that you've created for yourself there.
Well, when you guys talk about making those kind of life-changing leaps, like after I graduated college in my 20s, I did like a series of those. And it was, and some of them were fantastic and some of them total missteps, but you go with your gut and you say, well, let's give this a go. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? If I hate it, well, then I move somewhere else. And so I did. And so long story, from like 2000 to 2007, I lived in like 8 different places. I just kept moving around. And I landed in Chicago after I had finished my Master's of Fine Arts degree in Memphis to visit a mutual friend of ours, Karen and I's named Erinn, that I went to undergrad with. And I needed money because I had like $300 in my bank account. And he was like, well, you can work, for this art fair company that I work for a couple of weeks. You can stay at my house. And then I just never left. And I ended up in Chicago for almost 10 years. And I had a similar experience to Karen. I was working like 4 jobs. I was working from full-time for the art fair company. I teach online exclusively for like 3 different schools because my student loan debt was outrageous. And so I was working like 80 hours a week and it was awful. And I quit the full-time job thinking I could just teach, but that doesn't pay enough. And then I joined the same monster conglomerate that Karen worked for and had a very similar experience of like, I don't know why you even hired me. I don't know what my job really is. I don't know what I'm doing in the least amount, but you're paying me like buckets of money. So, okay, let's do this. But it was soul sucking, like you both said, it's like, there's just that point where, and I think as we get older, and I was in my late 30s at the time, you're just like, oh, I don't want to die in this. And I feel like I'm not going to make it to 40, which is over dramatic, but it's how it feels, And so how I got to Estonia was I booked a plane ticket to Toronto for a week while I was supposed to be working. And because I worked remotely and I was like, well, I can work from Canada. Let's do this. So I booked a ticket and I was like, I had made a decision that I was going to like figure out what I was doing that while I was in Toronto. And I have wanted to live in Europe since I was 18. And I've wanted to be an artist in Europe since I was 18. And I was like, why am I not doing this? I'm tired of saying this is what I really want to be doing. And okay, so I want to study jewelry and I want to do it in Europe. So I found schools, I applied. And then it was like, our friend Joel always says that the universe responds to your juju. This is how he says. And so what you put out there is what it will give it back to you. And it's, it's a bit hokey, but it's true. It really is true. And so once I made that decision of like, nope, this is what we're doing, hell or high water, I'm going to be in Europe by the time I'm 40. And I did. And it just kind of like, I applied, I interviewed 2 weeks later, they accepted me for grad school here. The day after, I quit my job 2 weeks later. I sold my apartment like 2 weeks after that without even having to put it on the market for over what I was asking, and it just like everything just fell right into place as it should. And it wasn't stressful and it wasn't hard. It was like, oh, what have you been waiting on? Like, and then I moved here and I did a master's program here and graduated in 2019 because it's easy to come to Europe as a student. It's not so easy otherwise.
So you are an artist. So for the people listening who are not familiar, so can you describe your art and kind of what you do in Estonia now? So are you still doing online, like classes are you teaching still, or like how does it work in terms of like supporting the art and what kind of art you're creating?
Well, one of the great caveats of Estonia is that financially the American salary goes a long way here. So economically, I can live on very little comparative to what I would need in the US. You know, I mean, for an example, my apartment and utilities and groceries, my studio and utilities, like combined, all of that is under $1,000. Yes. So that's, I can't do that in the States. And, you know, that's one of the pluses of having an American salary, even though it's not high comparative to the incomes here. So I teach online when they have classes. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. My schools don't really care where I am because I teach online. So I can be absolutely anywhere, which is why I like teaching online, because I can travel, I can be here, I can be home, I can be in Germany, I can do whatever I want to do, but still have a job. The other great thing about Estonia is that the arts funding here is phenomenal. So I was fortunate to be able to join the Artists Association here, and they have a lot of grants and funding opportunities. So we're able to get money for exhibitions and for travel to exhibitions that we're in. And right now I've been really lucky to get a creative grant to help me with the bills for the summer because I didn't have any classes and I'm trying to build a studio. So they make it a little bit easier to not be the so-called starving artists that we're used to in the States, because, you know, most people don't really pursue the arts because financially it's very difficult. My work, I make contemporary jewelry, which is not gold and diamonds and silver and fancy stuff. I work in really big pieces, heavy metals, copper, brass, steel, cast iron, and I make mostly work for men. So they're quite large and big, and they're very conceptually driven. So it's not work that sells easy. So, you know, I'm not really able to count on that work as being a source of income. It's just what makes me happy and what content and fulfilled is making these pieces. And if something sells, then it's fantastic. But, you know, again, I only need to sell like 3 pieces a year and I can cover the bill. So it's also not so stressful in that regard because of where I am. And it's a great place for my field. Like, you know, Estonia is a hotbed for contemporary jewelry globally. It really is. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here.
So I love hearing all of that. And of course, I'm so happy to see your face and to hear your voice. And I could go on and on about that. I'm going to stop. And I want you to brag about yourself a little bit, because I feel like from this end, right, all of your friends, we have this very cohesive, that's a kind way of putting like this, like very nebby, very all up in each other's business group of friends in Chicago. And as you mentioned, right, like, nebby is a Pittsburgh phrase for nosy. I just want to put that out there. Erinn, so I feel like, and for my life at the time, theErinns, boy Erinn and girl Erinn, that's what we call these folks, were like the center of our friendship circle. And both of you have since moved away, and it's just been so hard for all of us, you know, thrown off by both of you being gone. But I feel like there was this very cohesive group of friends, and we've just been keeping tabs, obviously, on what y'all have been doing and what you have been doing. And I feel like from here, it looked like you moved to Estonia and immediately were like, your work was in a fashion magazine in Estonia. And we're like, well, what the fuck? What the hell? She's supposed to be in school. Are you fucking kidding? What is this shit? And then then you got into this like really amazing show. So I just need you to brag briefly about these things you're doing, please.
Oh, well, you know, I've been really lucky, but I think it's also one of the things that, so my 2 favorite ladies here that both teach at the school, their names are Eva and Piret, and they're amazing. And they always said, you know, it's just about the work. Like, don't worry about anything else, just focus on the work. And if you make good work, everything else will just fall into place. Because, you know, we're already thinking, like, okay, how do I get into a gallery? How do I get into these shows? How do I get noticed? How do I get collectors to find me? And they were like, don't do it. Like, just because if the work sucks, nobody's going to give a shit. So just, you're here to learn, focus on the work, and the good things will come. And it kind of just did that way. And I got really lucky to have been in Schmuck, which is our big hurrah. It's in Munich once a year, and like 1,000 artists apply, and they pick about 60. And I got in the first time I applied, which was really mind blowing, and an honor and a privilege to be selected. And then I was selected again this year, and it's interesting because my work is very sculptural. That's my background before doing jewelry, and so I make this big, kind of clunky, densely sad work that you never know if people are really going to respond to. And then of course when they do, it's always really flattering. And I think one of the really other cool things that happened this year was I was in Wallpaper magazine and named like a jewelry pioneer from this year's graduates. And that was something really cool, because that's not just my field. Nobody knows what's happening with Schmuck if you're not into jewelry, but like other people read Wallpaper. And then my mom and my grandma could go to the store and buy the magazine and see like, oh, that's my kid, or So I think that's been the really fun part of it. And it's those are the kind of things you just kind of get lucky, and you put it in the universe and you hope it likes it. But you also, it's like you're not making it for those things. And I think you don't get so disappointed if you don't get it, because you're just making it to make it. And that's a luxury that I have. Like when you guys are talking about, the financial side of kind of making these kind of giant life changes, I had a little bit of a nest egg from that horrible job, but so it made it a little bit less scary. And then being here, it makes it a little less scary, because I know that if I don't sell anything or I don't get a grant this year, that, I'm not going to starve. I'm not going to have to come home if I don't want to, So I have a bit of a luxury in that sense, that I can just make the work I want to make, and I don't have to do a more commercial line and make sales, for now at least, because I'm terrible at commercial work. Nobody's going to buy my stuff. It's too crazy.
Erinn, your stuff is so beautiful. I think it's so interesting you
you
call it sculptural. I feel like people listening I really recommend going on Erinn's website, because I feel like it's just so interesting, and like it's stuff that I've never seen anything like it before. It's just so unique and gorgeous. I think one thing, in this audio project / podcast, Karen and I are really into mental health, and we're really into feelings, and we talk a lot about like how we're doing and that kind of thing. And we talk a lot about therapy and all kinds of different things, but I would love to talk as it relates to taking a leap, and how you've taken this enormous leap, Erinn, it seems, and it's working out so well. I'd love to talk about the highs and lows, if you were willing to, kind of share a little bit. Because I feel like people, any listeners who are thinking like, oh gosh, this is so scary. Can you talk, if you did feel any of that fear? If you didn't, that's great too. But any of those highs and lows as you've gone, and then how you feel now on the other side of all of that.
Oh, sure. I think going into it, it was just like, fuck it. I'm doing this. They said I can come, I'm coming. And, I had like a moment of hesitation when they invited me. And our friend Paul, he said, he was like, why are you even debating this? Like, this is what you've been wanting. Like, why would you say no? And it was like, oh, you're right. Okay. It was just a momentary blip. And then because everything just kind of worked out going, it wasn't scary, and I knew that I was coming into a school, which meant I had a network of people that I was going to be able to meet already, which makes it way less scary, because, if you just move to a foreign country, you don't know anybody, like that would be terrifying. Like moving to another city can be terrifying, but a whole nother country that I didn't even know where Estonia was before I applied, and I'd never been this far in Eastern Europe. And so, yeah, it was scarier once I got here a little bit, just because it was like, okay, well, we've done it. And okay, we're gonna make this work. And, Estonia is a really special place. and I say it's magical, but it is a challenging place because Estonian culture, of course, is very different. Estonian temperament is very different, and I mean, like complete opposite of Americans. And thank God, because I really like it, and it's really fantastic once you adjust to it. But it's not so easy just to talk to strangers or to ask questions. Most people speak English, but they don't want to because they don't think they speak well enough, even though they totally do. And my Estonian is terrible, even after 4 years. And trying to find an apartment in a foreign language and then reading a contract and trying to get Google to translate it, and Google understands about half of Estonian. So, trying to get, a phone card and that kind of stuff is just like, okay, well, I can point to my phone at the store and hope that you know what I'm asking for. And they do. So, it's okay. But there's certainly been moments of, it can be a bit lonely for sure, because I'm here completely by myself and I'm half a world away from everyone that I know and love. And, my parents I miss terribly, and my grandmother's 95. And, I worry that she's going to pass before I get home. I have two nieces that I'm missing growing up. So, and then our friends in Chicago, that group of friends it was so bittersweet to leave them because they're the most amazing group of people and they're so funny. And I miss that laughter that we had, So there's definitely been times where it's harder for sure. But I've been really fortunate here that I've had a really good group of friends here too. It's interesting because my thesis work was about loneliness. So I think you can read that, and that's definitely that was a low challenging time of being here and being single. The dating scene is difficult, mostly because I'm older than almost everyone I meet, and they don't marriage isn't as big a deal here. So, but people are together, but you don't know because they don't wear rings. So like you're chit chatting with some hot fella and it turns out he's married and he has like 14 children and you're like, well, okay. So, so I think that's the dating is definitely a more difficult part of living here. But if that's the worst thing, then I think I'm not dead yet. We're doing okay.
Oh my God, I can say so many things about that. And I feel like one of the reasons I feel like you have this loyal group of friends, both in Chicago and Estonia, I don't know, listeners, if you can tell this, but Erinn Cox is one of the most hilarious, funnest, most hilarious people ever. And I feel like you just bring so much joy with you. And I feel like it's so interesting to me that you, to me, have always just been this joyful person, this caretaker of our group, like this, like cohesion, you've held this group of friends together with all of this joy. And then to see your work and to see you talking about loneliness, it was just like, man, that is a depth of personality I don't know that most people have, right? Like that is, right? Like Katie's making the like symbol for justice, like that is a full spectrum of human emotion that I feel like a lot of people don't have or are not willing to access in themselves. So
I think everybody does. And I think that's one of the things that this virus has opened the gate, it's just like, everybody's living in this state of like the morning after of some crazy blackout bender. And then you wake up and you're like, what has happened? But now I feel it all. And it's just here, and I think that's, it's always been there for everybody, it's just what you choose to, really share with other people and what you don't share, right? And so, definitely making a whole MA thesis about loneliness was daunting, and it was very exposed, and especially like to the Estonian audience, they were like, "What the fuck?" Because they don't talk about this kind of stuff in in public. And I was like, well, we don't really either, but here it is, because this is what it is. This is what it's about, and you're getting it. And I'm giving you the full show. Like, if we're going to do it, we're doing it. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that it wasn't a planned thesis. It was, but, you know, it's kind of, it is what it is. But, you know, it's dark here like half the year. Like, so once we get into winter, it's, you know, it's daylight gray at like 10 in the morning, and then it's dark at 3:30. So you kind of become this mole person, which I kind of like, but it's dark and cold. And so it's easy to kind of retreat into yourself in a way, and kind of just tap into all that stuff that you're feeling and thinking about. But I think those are the things that lead people to make these kinds of jumps, right? Because you know that there's something in your gut that's not right, and your gut is telling you got to do something, whether that's a job change or a city change, or, you know, get a bicycle. I don't know, whatever. You know, people started baking, I think, you know, it's like whatever is which I did that for like once, and I got halfway through mixing the stuff, and I was like, I hate baking. Why am I doing this? Like, shit, virus or not, I don't need the cookies this bad. Like, I didn't even finish it. I was like, so, you know, I think you have different degrees of life choices, right? But I think being willing to tap into those emotions, though, whatever that gamut is for you, and being honest with yourself, it's like, we could die tomorrow, you know? And that's a very cliche thing to say, but it's totally true. So, like, why are you wasting your time? Like, make the jump. What's the worst thing that will happen? You know, most of us, even if we don't have the money, you have family or friends who are not going to let you starve. You know, they're not going to let you be on the street. They're going to help you because they want you to be happy and successful, just as you would for them. So, you know, I say go for it. Make the jump. See what happens.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, for people who, I love that you not only changed professionally to do different things, but then you also like moved across the world. I mean, I think that's something that so many people dream about. And I know Americans can't go to Europe right now, and hopefully post COVID we'll be able to do a lot more things. But I guess, you know, because you have that depth of knowledge about moving to Europe, for example, what kinds of advice would you give someone who, you know, you had mentioned early in this conversation about, you know, wanting or it being a little bit easier for you to get, you know, to be able to go to Estonia because you were on a student visa. So would you recommend something like that? Or like, what kinds of maybe tips that maybe you didn't know right away would help others who might want to move to a different country and kind of upend their life in that dramatic way, that exciting way?
Well, especially for Europe, you really have to look at because the residency issue is different in every country. And some places it's incredibly rigorous, and other places it's a little more easy, but it's different. So here, because I was coming from the States, and the US is a NATO partner with Estonia, and actually supplies troops and things, we have a different agreement. So I didn't have to get a student visa. I moved here, and then I got a residency permit that was good for a year, that I could renew every year, because I was in school doing a graduate degree, not an undergrad, because it was a master's program. And then if you graduate with a master's program degree here, then you can apply for long-term residency. And now I can stay for up to 5 years and then try to renew every time. But you can't do dual citizenship with Estonia. So, but, you know, let's say if you wanted to go to Spain, oh, it's a nightmare. Like, you have to do a crazy jump through hoops. You know, even though they're all in the EU, they have different rules. And so, when I was looking at grad schools, I was looking at a school in Germany, and Germany's even trickier. So they don't necessarily want you to come from the States. And so it's a very difficult process of getting a way in. And then they want you to know German, and okay, well, I don't, you know, so like, but if you're going in from, like, I have a friend here from China, he has much different regulations. So it really depends on where you're coming from and to where you're trying to go. But, you know, I think you research as much as you can before you go, and make sure you have some cash on you when you get here. because you're going to need it. And contact the embassy. They were really helpful when I first got Karen. They kind of helped navigate some things. And luckily I had a friend, Karen has a friend in Chicago who's Estonian, strangely enough. And so I got to meet with him before I came, and he gave me kind of the lay of the land. So if you can find a local from wherever you're trying to go, and they can tell you like, okay, this is the neighborhood, this is what you get, the banking, these are the services you need, and this is how you do it, then you just take your notes and you just show up. It's tricky, but it's doable. That's the thing, is it sounds really scary, but it's really not any scarier than like moving to Nebraska, like that's a change. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do in Omaha, So, yeah.
Well, and so Michael, who I connected you with before you went there, his wife is from Estonia. He is from here, and they were living in Tallinn, and I met him obviously in Chicago. And then their son was at the same school as you in Estonia at the same time in a different program, and it was so random. And
he was at the Music Academy, but he's in the States now. So.
Yes, he's back. I do agree, though. I mean, just even that, like that you knew someone, me, who knew someone who's Estonian, like this idea that you were talking about and that Joel was talking about with the juju, I feel like the same thing that when I started Rebellious, this same notion that like when you are on the path just fills in as you go. Like, I feel like if you are walking the path that the universe wants you to be on, and again, it's so woo-woo, but it's true. Like, shit just falls into place, and you don't have fear because you just keep getting affirmed, like, I am doing the thing I am supposed to be doing. And
and it's not scary because it's like, you're all in. You know what I mean? You have completely bought into yourself and your plan and what you're doing. And so you're on like this steep, track. You're not worried about these things on the side. I'm not worried about this job I hate anymore. I'm not worried about this. I'm just focused on this. And so it's not so scary when, oh yeah, okay. Oh wait, somebody from Estonia? Fantastic. I'm moving to Estonia. Let's talk. Okay, well, I need to do this. All right, well, I got to buy. Great, you've got miles. I'll take your miles, because you're just so zoned in on what you want to do that you can focus on it in a different way. And so it's the universe or the juju or, the lucky quartz in your pocket. I don't know, but whatever it is, it works. What are you chasing? What are you really, really chasing? What are you after? And whatever you're after is there. You just have to be willing to go in and try to get it. And whatever that means for you, So if it's moving halfway around the world, do it. You can do it, do it. If it's buying a brand new Subaru, fantastic. Like, get two, like why half-ass it if you can't choose? Like, let's do this,
Because one's your office. One Subaru's your office.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one I need to drive with, but one of them needs to be parked in my driveway all the time.
Perfect. Yeah, you're like a walking advertising. Maybe that could be your sponsor for the audio project, Subaru.
Yes, Subaru, we're talking at you. We would be more than happy to talk about your amazing air conditioning. I'm sitting in 100-degree weather right now, and I am chilly, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Oh, but Erinn, thank you so much for coming on this. Like, this is so fun. You're the most perfect first guest. Karen, thank you for even thinking of Erinn to come on. This has just been so much fun.
But thanks for having me. This was super fun.
This was so much fun. Thank you, Erinn. This is amazing.
You're very welcome.
Yes, we will see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you.